Hello, welcome to Andi Paints Rocks. I am Andi. Today's rock is a tomato, and the goal for this rock is to fill the entire space of the rock so that the rock becomes the tomato. Hopefully it looks as realistic as possible. I am working all in acrylic paints, and the first thing I'm doing is I am doing a base coat of white on the rock. I really like starting from a base coat of white. Oh, moment for my new mug. We love her. I am now trying to improvise a little easel because I realized I kind of wanted to be able to like paint at an angle so that I wasn't hunching over the rock. So made it out of index cards, tape, and a phone brick charger. I am going in now with my base color for the tomato, which is just cadmium red. I did some research and this seemed to be like the most reliable, good color for like a base tomato color. And here I am just mapping out where I think I might want like the leaves and the stem of the tomato, because I'm thinking this is going to be a tomato on the vine. So it's going to have some thin green leaves and a little stem coming out. And I'm just roughly sort of sketching out where that's going to be. Instead of just painting the whole rock red and then painting green over it, I wanted to intentionally leave some white canvas blank so that I could paint green over it and that it would still be really vivid. Because if I paint it over the red, which I will do, parts of it certainly will go on the red, but it just won't look as vivid. The colors will look a little bit darker. So I want to take advantage of having that bright white underbase while I still have it. So now I'm going in with, I believe the color is Hooker's Green. Don't really have more information about why it's called that. And now I am shaping the leaves. And I'm going in with some yellow. Again, while I still have that white available, I want to get some yellow undertone in there so that the yellow stays really, really vivid and any like brighter spot on the leaf will show through. So now I'm going in and I am just sort of closing up any gaps. I'm still leaving it kind of rough because I'll define those lines a little more cleanly later. So I'm going in and just covering anything that was white, and again, just like leaving some space and room to be creative with the tomato leaves. Now I'm going in with some yellow. This is either yellow ochre or it might be cadmium yellow actually. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to remember all the colors I used. I am sorry. So I'm going on the right side. I'm trying to sort of shape out the tinting, and now I'm sort of shaping out the shadowing. So I am shading here in the bottom left corner because I'm treating this tomato like a sphere, and I'm using ivory black mixed in with my cadmium red. I looked this up because my acrylic paint set came with a Mars black and an ivory black, and I was like, what is the difference? Which one do I use? Turns out Mars black, it's a very, very heavy pigment. You only need a little bit of it, and it's great for like defined lines. So if you're doing like lettering or anything that you need like a really defined, like opaque black line. Ivory black, on the other hand, has more of a brown base. It's not as like tight of a pigment, I guess, and it is much better to use for things like shading, which I'm doing here. I'm really glad I looked that up because, to be honest, I really didn't know. I have no formal training in painting. I just sort of get into a flow state and wing it, and often that involves doing some online research of like, what actually is this color? So now I am starting to define the shape of the tomato more. Like I said, I'm going in with that ivory black mixed with my cadmium red, and I am treating this like a sphere. So I'm trying to do like the basic shading of a sphere where it's, you know, lighter depending on where the light's hitting it. Let's say for this purpose of this video, the light is hitting the tomato upper right. So we are shading the bottom left, and we are tinting or highlighting the upper right. While the tomato part of the tomato is drying, I will be working on my stem and leaves. I do this the whole video. I alternate between like working on the actual base of the tomato and working on the leaves. because acrylic paint is really fussy while it's drying, and you want it to be either wet and you're able to work with it, or you really want to let it dry and not touch it, because otherwise it gets clumpy, it starts peeling off the layers below it. So that's something to be aware of when working with acrylics that I have learned the hard way multiple times. However, acrylics are also very forgiving in that they dry fairly quickly, and once they dry, you can paint right over them. As you will see for the rest of this video, I am really working on shading and highlighting and trying to make this look as realistic as possible, so I do a lot of layers. Now I'm going in with kind of like a Grey Poupon mustardy color. And I am adding that to my leaves because there are more colors than just greens in leaves. And I'm adding little highlights. You'll see over time I go in with a bunch of different like yellows and greens. Looks like we are back to doing the shading, and I'm trying to sort of take that into the top so that the whole thing looks like a circle. I fussed around with this shading quite a bit. I realized that I felt like it looked too, just like, it was too dark and it wasn't really a gradient. It was kind of just like a shape, like a little crescent. So I really wanted to buff that out a little bit. And here I'm actually going into the center, and I'm adding some shading where the leaves and the stem are, because if you look at a tomato, if you start at the bottom, it bulbs out and then it comes back in and sort of gathers, and there's a little like kind of recessed part where the stem and the leaves sit. So I really want to try and capture that shape. Okay, so now I have mixed some of that ivory black with my green, and I'm really sharpening up those little tips of the leaves. I'm trying to make sure my curves in the leaves sort of match the shape of the curves of the tomato that I'm going for, so that the leaves kind of accentuate that shape rather than fight against it. And I did end up adding another leaf that I didn't leave room for, but I did that because I was like, well, it's okay if this is a little bit darker and duller because I'm painting over red, because all the leaves are gonna look a little different. Looks like here I am adding a little more color and dimension to the stem. Okay, we're back to the actual tomato part of the tomato. And here is where the forgiveness of acrylic paint is really such a blessing, because I am literally just painting that cadmium red base color right over a lot of the shading that I did both in the middle and on the bottom left edge. And it's because the paint is dry, and even though I'm just painting red right over it, it's not gonna become fully red because that shading is so dark. So that's still gonna show through underneath, which allows me to sort of like get more of that gradient effect. So this is where acrylic paint can be really, really fun and forgiving, because I'm adding that red over that, and it is buffing out that sort of harsh shadow line without totally covering it up. I probably could have used a smaller brush in these little crevices between the leaves, but I get really impatient and usually just use whatever is in my hand. And as you can see there, I end up using my hand as sort of like a paint catcher or palette. By the end of painting, my hands and arms are a mess because I like to just use them, because I'm very, very impatient when I work and I don't want to knock myself out of my flow state, so I will just use whatever is available to me. So crazy watching this, because it already looks pretty much like a real tomato from this angle, or like a bizarro sort of like 3D painting just kind of like coming out at you. This is why I really like painting rocks, because they already are three-dimensional, so when you then try to add more three-dimensionality, not a word, to the rock, like it ends up just looking really cool and fun. You get that sort of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit effect of like, I'm in the real world, but there's this like painted animated thing that seems like it's of another kind of like texture. So I really like doing that with rocks. So here I'm trying to add some white to sort of more define that like bulbous quality of the tomato, and you'll notice I get really fussy about my tinting and highlighting here. I just always feel like I've gone too far too quickly, and then I try to like pare it back. But the fact of the matter is, as you can see right here, I'm using just pure white. If you're looking at a shiny object, where the light hits it, there is that little like pure white block of shine. But it always feels so harsh when you first put it down. You're like, oh, well now I just added like a white block to my otherwise perfect painting. So I think you'll see a couple more times I end up sort of blending it out. Again, the forgiving nature of the acrylic paint. I thought I went a little too hard here, decided while it was wet to add some water and to keep cleaning my brush off and really spread that out so that I could just sort of work it into the overall shiny shape of the tomato. And now we're back to the green because I accidentally painted over my leaves. If I were to do this again, I would not make the leaves go down as far because it really tripped me up trying to get the leaves and the shine correct because I had put them in the same spot. Once I get to this phase of painting, it's a lot of just like, oh, that doesn't look quite right. I'll put a little dab of this here and a little dab of that there. I am working from an actual tomato model, a real tomato model that I was able to book. No, I have an actual tomato that's out of the shot, and then I also Googled I think I typed in tomato painting realistic, and I did some just visual research on a whole bunch of them, and I have a few different pictures up on my computer that I'm looking at, just because I want to sort of see the roadmap of like, okay, how did other people achieve this, and to sort of observe closely like, oh, I'm looking at a red tomato, but that area is definitely orange and that area is definitely bright white or whatever, just to give myself a roadmap of where I'm going. This is yet another attempt to, it's so funny watching this back because I'm like, you did it, girl, it looks great, and then I like wuss out and go back and blend it back out again. It all ends up adding to the nuance of the shape of the tomato, but it was frustrating to do at the time, and it's frustrating to watch back now and be like, it looks great, stop fixing it. We are our own worst critics. I'm looking at how messy my hand is now at this point. Like I said, I get into a flow state, and the idea of like having to get up to like get something else to wipe the paint on, I don't want to do it. third, fourth, I don't know, whatever time is the charm, I finally felt like I understood the curvature of the tomato, and after all of those attempts, I am going in and doing my little shiny crescent. As you can see, all of those layers of like yellow and white that I like decided I didn't like actually really sort of brightened up and added dimension to the tomato. So it's all fine. But I decided that I was happy with that shine and the curvature of it and what it looked like. And here I am just going in, figuring out the stem. Just getting one more hit of that cadmium red to try and make that tomato look a little less harsh in the shadow on the side. And yeah, there she is. That looks like a real tomato. Good job, me.